2000 I had my car accident. 2005 I met my husband, as he is now. In 2005 I had a relapse with my spine. The spine started to collapse, and what this meant was that the nerve pain returned and the pain in the leg became unbearable, and I didn't sleep. I had 18 months back on crutches. Again, I didn't know if I was going to progress to the point of being in a wheelchair. I was taking 25 different medications a day, different painkillers, steroids, diazepam, all sorts of things. None of them did any good, none of them took the pain away, but that was all that I had. I had physiotherapy, I had acupuncture, I had every single type of treatment that you could possibly imagine, and being a physical therapist myself, I knew where to go to get the best, but nothing made any difference. I was in such horrific pain that if you'd have given me a saw, I could quite happily have chopped my own leg off. It was absolutely horrific. Again, I hit such a level of self-destruction that I honestly wanted to kill myself a few times. Had it not have been for my husband and my family, and thinking about them and how they would feel if I did do that, I wouldn't be here right now. I can say that absolutely without a shadow of a doubt, because living with that kind of pain is just horrendous. There's nothing you can do. You don't sleep, you can't eat. Everything hurts. Getting up in the morning hurts. I had somebody who I'd only met for 3 months having to live with me and having to dress me and having to cope with somebody who's in such pain. I mean, how he did that, I don't know. I couldn't cope with it myself. Sometimes I thought I would be better off on my own because I would have not given him the trauma, but Tony was just one of those people who wouldn't have gone anyway. I know he wouldn't, which is probably a good reason that you marry somebody like that, because they're never going to let you down, and he never has done. So in some ways I have his stubborn nature to thank for the fact that we're still together. I don't think I was pleasant to live with for the first 18 months that he lived with me. I don't think anybody's pleasant when they're in that amount of pain. I do tell my patients, I understand, because I do. I've had everything. I've had nerve pain, I've had pins and needles, I've had any amounts of creepy crawly feelings, and I have atrophy, I have muscular atrophy, I have permanent nerve damage, I have permanent spine damage, I have destruction to the spine, I have MRI scans left, right and centre of various different parts of my spine and parts of my leg and everything. Nothing makes a difference there, does it? Because even though you have all that information, it doesn't take away the mere fact that you're in agony. My granddad actually paid for me to have my MRI scan just so I knew what was wrong, because unfortunately the NHS moved at such a slow pace that it basically took 18 months for my emergency appointment to come through. My neurologist and spinal surgeon wanted to operate straight away. He didn't even know what was wrong with me. This was before he'd had a scan done. I insisted on having a scan before he would go anywhere near me with a scalpel, thank goodness. And then when I got my results, he basically told me that the condition that I had was inoperable. There was nothing he could do at all. I wouldn't be able to have children. I would never be able to do a myriad of activities. I had a list as long as my arm of things I wasn't allowed to do. I had a list of as long as my arm of things I was supposed to take from a medication point of view, and I just thought there was not much point in going on with my life at that point. You know, everything that you're supposed to look forward to being able to do suddenly was taken away. And then he threw me a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel. By this point in my life, I'd put probably put a significant amount of weight on with the steroids and the medication and the lack of exercise. I didn't treat myself very well. I was eating a lot of food that was not particularly good for me. I hated myself, I hated the pain, and it was a way of making myself feel better. But he threw me a little bit of hope. My neurologist said quite categorically that if I got down to less than 9 stone or 9 stone thereabouts, he might be able to do something about my pain. This was a ridiculous thing to say. I, at 5'10", should never be weighing 9 stone. He didn't measure my height, he didn't do a BMI check, he did nothing. He just merely told me that I needed to lose weight. And this became an obsession, I have to say. I had no idea why I had to be 9 stone in particular, but this was the target that he'd given me. So that's where I was going. I decided that if I was going to get to that weight, I may as well do it in a way that would hopefully reduce my pain at the same time. I spoke to one of my colleagues who was a Chinese doctor, and I know that obviously she used food quite regularly to help her patients with various different ailments, asthma, that kind of thing. So I consulted with her, and we concocted between us a diet that meant all the foods I'd possibly ever heard of that could ever give me heightened pain or give me some kind of arthritic inflammatory response. I cut them out of my diet. I cut them out and I combined it with what she was telling me to cut out. I also only ate the foods that we knew wouldn't cause me any kind of reaction, and from that we worked out a diet. The consequence of the diet was that my 9 stone target became quite realistic quite quickly. I lost a lot of weight very fast. I think it was something like 4 stone in 3 months. It was a very quick weight loss, but then I wasn't really eating anything particularly to cause me to put weight on. I had reached a fairly normal weight for my height. I began to associate the reduction of weight with reduction of pain, so I developed a type of anorexia that's really unusual. Most people have anorexia that's to do with what they look like, and they become obsessed with the thinness of the body and what the body actually looks like. I was not bothered about that at all. I didn't care what I looked like. I hated myself anyway, so it made no difference what I looked like. But what I did have was an obsession with the fact that I believed quite categorically that the less I weighed, the less pain I would have, which the logical part of my brain that has a degree in medicine was telling me that it was ridiculous. Of course, that's not the case. You're not going to get less pain from weighing less, because the problem is spine damage, it's nerve damage, it's permanent. It's not going to go away because you weigh less. But this is what I had in my head, and I became very obsessed with it. I became underweight. I was embarrassed about being underweight because I knew that I looked very odd. I knew that I looked quite skeletal, but this didn't seem to distract me. And when I went back to see the neurosurgeon and I'd got under 9 stone, he was still not going to do anything. So I realised that it had all been completely futile. I had not only pain, I had nerve damage, I had spine damage, I couldn't have children, but I also now had an eating disorder as well, because I couldn't get out of the habits that I'd developed